Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a very quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase, and not much has changed since yesterday, guys. Bitcoin, I told you yesterday as Bitcoin was sitting right up here at about 3430. I told you if you were looking to enter into a scalp trade, wait for it to drop below 3400 again. We did get that drop shortly after. Price came from about 3440 all the way down on Coinbase down to about 3335, and that it found support down there. Got pushed right back up above 3,400, guys, and here it sits right around 3,400 at the moment. In my opinion, guys, this is not looking very bullish whatsoever. Even though we do have this kind of descending resistance, or excuse me, this descending wedge here, which is typically a bullish pattern, guys. But this is a rather sloppy wedge. I'm kind of forcing a pattern here. I'm not saying it's not valid. I'm just saying, I'm not putting a whole lot of faith into this thing now. I'm just kind of monitoring it. But right now, guys, it looks to me like the probability is in favor of the bulls, or excuse me, in favor of the bears, pushing this thing back down, in my opinion, probably down to about 3,300, possibly 3,250. We'll have to wait and see kind of how this ends up playing out. Now, again, I'm not throwing out the possibility that we could be coming down here, hitting the apex of this wedge, and get an influx of volume, and we get a nice little jump in price. Now, that's a real possibility. If that does happen, I'm going to be watching this area right here. This area was a strong support, should act as a strong resistance. So don't get trapped into, if price does come back up, I told you, this is why I said if you're gonna enter into a scalp trade down here, I wouldn't target 3,600, I'd target probably 3,500, because of this area right here is going to be very, very difficult to get past. I would not get greedy at all. In fact, I told you I wouldn't take this trade, and I wouldn't. But if you did, guys, I would. As of right now, if you're staying into it, you kind of hope when price came back down here, you want to see an influx of volume. We didn't get that influx of volume at all, guys. In fact, coming over here, we're sitting at about 5.8 billion for the day. That's extremely weak volume, guys. Not the kind of volume that's going to sustain a bull run. Doesn't mean that that can't happen, but right now we're not seeing it, guys, and we're seeing no sign of it on the chart. So in my opinion, guys, there's a better than 50-50 probability that we're coming back down here to more than likely 3,300, possibly 3,250. Now, I want to zoom back out to look at the bigger picture, guys, to kind of give you an idea of what could happen. And I want to go all the way out to the monthly chart. Looking at the monthly chart, guys, kind of gives you real perspective. This 30,000 foot view, guys, real perspective of what's going on. Obviously, we've been in an extremely bearish pattern here since January of 2018, and we just broke this area right here at about 37. Well, not just, but we have broken this area of about 3,800, which was acting as a decent support, guys. We've broken below that, and that's anytime you see this this looked like a possible, back in December, a possible reversal candle here, the way this closed. It didn't end up playing out that way, and now we've got this body, we've got this long wick here with the body well below that $3,600, $3,700 support, guys. So this tells me that very likely we could be coming down to this $3,000 to $2,500 area, and this should act as a strong support, guys. We can see that back here, guys, there was a lot of structure right in this area, guys. So in my opinion, this is the area that would be a must buy. I will be entering into a fairly large position if we do ever see a $3,000 Bitcoin, and I'll ladder in my buys between 3,000 and 2,500. That being said, I'm going to have a very tight stop loss at about 20, probably between 2450 and about 2450 and 2400. I will ladder in my stops. Why? Because I want to allow for a wick, but I also know if we get a decisive break below 2500, and again, these prices will vary depending on your exchange, guys, but just keep an eye on the pattern. But if we do break below this 2500 on Coinbase, there's a very good possibility, guys, there's just no support between 2500 all the way down to about 12 to 1100. And if we look at this 12 to 1100 dollar area, why is there a lot of support there? Well, going all the way back to about the end of 2012, the beginning of 2013, we can see that this area, price came up here, and this acted as a very strong resistance. And then that sent us on a very, very long bull run all the way until we hit 2017, where price just exploded. But even on 2017 here, guys, we could see end of 2016, beginning of 2017, there was a lot of resistance. Same area we had here, same area we had here. A lot of resistance right between that $1,100 and $1,200 range, guys. And it took literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months until price exploded above that area. So that being said, guys, we can see that this was a very strong resistance, and it should act as a very strong support. So if price does ever break below 2,500 decisively, not by a wick, but decisively, just know that there's a there's a possibility we could quickly fall down to an $1,100 to $1,200 Bitcoin. This is an area that this is an absolute must buy in my opinion. This is a very hard support in my opinion. This is the area that I will go in extremely heavy. This is when everyone's going to tell you that Bitcoin is dead, Bitcoin was ridiculous, anyone who invested in Bitcoin was a moron, etc., etc. This is when you want to buy. Right here, in my opinion, guys. So if we ever see it, I'm not saying this is a probability at all. In fact, I think that 3,000 to 2,500, I think this area will hold. I'd be surprised if it broke, but I've been surprised before. And you always want to be ready, guys. That's what makes the difference between a successful trader and a non-successful trader. A non-successful trader does not plan for all possibilities, and I want you guys to plan for all possibilities, because while everyone else is panicking, you're going to have a cool head on your shoulders, and you're going to take advantage of that drop in price. And this is the area where you're going to want to go in extremely heavy with the fiat that you have set aside to buy Bitcoin. If we ever do get down here, guys, I'm not saying we're going to. I'm just saying it's a possibility. All right, coming back in, looking at the daily chart, guys, looking at our moving averages and exponential moving averages, we can see that price did break below that daily Bollinger Band. The Bollinger Bands here, guys, have been constricting, as we pointed out yesterday. That oftentimes does indicate a larger move to come. We did have that breakdown yesterday, guys, and let's see if that breakdown does continue, and if this does end up, sorry about that, guys, if this does end up being that larger move. That break below that bottom Bollinger Band here on the daily chart, guys, is a rather bearish sign in my opinion. Now, we do have this long wick. Does look like a possible reversal, but again, the fact that we haven't been able to break up above this 21-day, or excuse me, this 8-day EMA for over a week, and the fact that volume remains so extremely low, even with this dip, all of that, guys, is a rather bearish sign. So, you know, again, I would just be very, very careful, guys. In my opinion, I would just sit on my sidelines and wait for this thing to play out. It's just not worth forcing a trade in this point, in my opinion. Not financial advice, guys. Obviously, you do what you want, but I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for a trade setup, guys. I'm not going to do anything at all to force a trade. All right, looking at our shorts, guys. Shorts continue to our shorts were stacking yesterday, falling off a little bit today. Basically just no real movement at all on shorts, kind of just sitting flat for the moment. Looking over at longs do continue to stack here. Have been stagnant for about 8 hours or so, but overall continuing to stack here. If this pattern does continue, guys, if longs continue to stack, if shorts start to fall off or remain stagnant, that's a recipe for price coming right back down, guys. Remember, it's a zero-sum game. For someone to make money, someone's got to lose money. Market makers are definitely looking to make money, and how do they do that? They do that by liquidating positions, and those short positions continue to stack. They're going to liquidate that. How do they liquidate that? They drive price down. So again, this is why I think that 3,250, even 3,200, even 3,000 is definitely in play. Now, this is also in play, this descending wedge. So I don't mean to talk out of both sides of my mouth, guys. I'm just saying, as I said yesterday, we are seeing a lot of mixed signals. So the trend favors bearish for sure. The trend is definitely bearish, but there are some signs in here of a possible bull run. Not a bull run. That's a scratch that. Not a bull run, of a possible jump in price, at least by this descending wedge here. Now, we've seen that many times where we have this descending wedge. Price jumps up here, and then of course just continues its downtrend, and that's very likely what's going to continue to happen here. Not saying that's going to happen, just saying, guys, you want to be very, very careful. But I'm not ruling out the possibility of price spiking here and us getting a temporary spike in volume. I'm just saying be very, very careful, guys, because in my opinion, I think probability favors to the downside at the moment. All right, I'm going to wrap Bitcoin there. Quickly looking at EOS. This is going to be very quick, guys. EOS, since breaking below that 270 support, guys, found support right at that 245 range. It was just kind of snaking around that, guys, for the longest time, and then finally eventually broke down here. Now, we do have this descending resistance, or excuse me, descending support line here that's been respected here since December 27th. That I'm not disregarding that. In fact, we had another bounce off that just yesterday. So I'm going to be watching this very, very closely, guys. I think there's a good chance that might hold. We'll have to wait and see. But what I'm watching closely to see if EOS can hold this descending support line here, or at least hold 211. And to see if we can break above 245 decisively. By decisively, I mean a daily candle, both opening and closing above 245. I'd like to see it just well above there, not even touching it. And if we can get back above 270, back into this range here, at least into this order block here, that'd be a rather bullish sign in my opinion. I don't think that's going to happen though. I think EOS is following Bitcoin, and I think very, very likely at least 211 is in play. If 211 breaks down, I think we could very quickly find ourselves at $1.85 to $1.72. And this, like that $3,000 $1 area on Bitcoin, this is that area that in my opinion is a must buy between $1.85 and $1.72. That kind of respects this prior low down here. Not the absolute low, but the order structure was between $1.45 and $1.72. This is the buy zone in my opinion. Not saying it's going to come down here. I'm just saying if it does, this is where you're going to want to scoop up some EOS. Again, just my opinion, not financial advice, but this is where I will be buying. I'm not going to go in heavy because there's a very good chance if $1.72 does break down decisively, we could find ourselves at $1.25 to $1.10 very quickly. And again, that just like Bitcoin, guys, things could snowball downhill rather quickly. EOS does follow Bitcoin very closely, so I would be very careful if buying at that $1.85 to $1.72 range, guys. I wouldn't go in with all of your fiat, but this is a good buy zone. For now, I would be sitting on my hands. I'd be watching EOS very closely to see if this does hold. But again, until we do get a nice bounce off of this descending resistance support line or this 211, or if we do get a nice decisive break above that 245 range, I'm just going to sit on my hands and watch and monitor and wait for that trade setup to come to me, guys. I'm not going to force a trade. All right, that takes care of EOS. Let's very quickly look at Ethereum. This is on the weekly chart, guys. Ethereum, we can see price came back down here. We had that nice bounce off of this order block going all the way back to 2017. Bounced right off that order block all the way down to about $80, where we got a nice bounce, guys. Bounced right back up to about $1.60, or excuse me, to about 160. Found a lot of resistance and then broke right back down, guys. And in my opinion, it looks to me like we're probably going to come back down to at least that $100 to a $97 range, at least on Coinbase. Again, it'll vary depending on your exchange, but this order block right down here, I think there's a good chance between let's call it 100 is a good psychological number, so between $100 and $80, guys, I think is not a bad area. It's a dollar cost average in, but in my opinion, I think very likely it's going to be the lower end of that spectrum, so probably about $85 to $80, guys. That's where I'd be looking to enter into a position on Ethereum if you're looking to buy Ethereum. But I'd be very careful, guys. I'd be sitting on my hands knowing that if $80 does end up breaking down, we could very very quickly find ourselves all the way down to about $50, $52, at least on Coinbase, guys. There's just not a lot of support between $80 and $52. I'm not saying that's going to happen, guys. In fact, I do believe that this area will hold, this $80 range, at least $80, the bottom of that area will hold. But again, be very, very careful. I want you guys to be prepared. This is the area that if we ever do see this $50 all the way down to about $30 on Ethereum, guys, that's where you're going to want to go in extremely heavy. Again, that's not a probability, but it is a possibility. For now, I'm just watching this area very close between $100 and $80, targeting more than likely, I think $85 is a real possibility for Ethereum right now. I'm not saying it's going to happen, just saying as of right now, guys, that's the way it's looking. If we zoom in here on this little microstructure, pull our fib. We can see that we have broken well below the golden ratio, even the golden pocket there, guys. The 786 fib level, guys, would be the next area of decent support. But we can see it almost bounced there right now. But in my opinion, guys, this thing, I think Ethereum is following Bitcoin so closely, and I think the bears are in full control of Bitcoin. So I think very likely, guys, we're going to be coming down to that $85 range. Again, just my opinion. That being said, if we do come down into this range, guys, I do think there's a real good chance of a decent bounce. In fact, if I zoom in here on the daily chart, look at our MACD, guys, we can see that we are showing some decent bullish divergence. If we look at point to point, we can see obviously price created a lower low. If we look at point to point on the histogram, on the MACD here, we can see it created a higher low. Obviously, that's bullish divergence here in this in this downtrend. So that would suggest a decent little bounce here, guys. I do think that I'm going to be watching this daily RSI as well as we get closer down here to that 30 being oversold, or excuse me, yeah, to being oversold here. I do think there's a good chance of a nice little bounce, guys. I think, in fact, if we come over here, the way things are lining up, price comes down here, touches about that that $80, $85 range, maybe even upper 80s. I do think there's a good chance of a nice little bounce. I think at that point we're going to be getting to almost oversold, if not oversold, and I do think that's the point we could get a nice little bounce. I think this is definitely an area where you look at a decent scalp trade, in my opinion. A very, very quick scalp trade, very quick day trade, but I'd be in and I'd be out, and I'd be watching this area targeting this area right here. So between about 120 and $135, guys, I think that's a decent area to target. And this is where I'd be getting out, guys. I'd get in and I'd get out. I would not be holding. I wouldn't be doing any kind of a swing trade. In other words, guys, I would not be holding for any period of time unless you're looking for holding for the long haul. Unless you're looking to hold for the long haul. But the long haul, I mean a year or more. If you're looking to hold for a year or more, by all means, slowly dollar cost average again right now makes a whole lot of sense. I'm not telling you to do that. Again, not financial advice, just kind of telling you what I would do if it were me. All right, that wraps Ethereum. Let's quickly look at XRP. Looking at Ripple, guys, we can see that Ripple looks to me like it is forming another smaller descending wedge, kind of mimicking this one here, just in a smaller degree. And, you know, do I think that this is going to explode into a bull run? Now, I'm not seeing any sign of that yet. In fact, I think that very likely we're going to come back down and test the bottom of this area here, possibly coming down and finding support right here, somewhere in this area. So that could bring us down to about 22, 23 cents. And I think at that point, guys, this if we do come down into this area, if Ripple does make its way down here between 25, 23, even 22 cents, I will absolutely be buying a decent position in Ripple, expecting a nice little bounce, because this is setting up nicely. This looks to be setting up nicely, guys, for a nice little descending wedge where you come back down, hit that 23, 22 cent range, and then just explode up, kind of like something we saw here. Now, again, I'm not saying that's going to end up in that bull run that everyone's hoping for. It might. We're going to have to watch volume. We're going to have to watch longs. We're going to have to watch shorts. It might. But as of right now, I'm more than likely going to buy in this area between 25 and 22 cents and sell right in this area here. So I'm going to sell somewhere between 41 and 48 cents, guys. Now, if you're holding for the long haul, by all means, slowly dollar cost average again, not a bad idea. But if you're a day and/or scalp trader, guys, these are the targets I'd be looking for. Buying somewhere between 25 and 22 cents, selling somewhere between 40 and 48 cents, and I'd be monitoring it the whole way up, guys. In fact, I'd be very conservative and probably take my profit off the table somewhere around 30 to 35 cents. Take that profit off the table and let the rest ride. Just my opinion, again, not financial advice. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Working. Signing out.